So I'm really excited. This is my fireside chat with Caspar Lee. He's a huge YouTuber. So Caspar, of course, you have to tell us all about your journey. You are a YouTuber turned entrepreneur and investor. And you started your YouTube channel in 2010. You have 12 million people across social media, and you understand digital media a long way. Of course, you founded the company Influencer, the originators of influence marketing. And it has more than 170 people global team with offices in London, New York, Los Angeles, Berlin, Dubai, and Riyadh. And you're also the co-founder of Creator Ventures. And I have my young child here. She's a huge YouTuber. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but she's watching a lot of stuff on YouTube. She's 8. But Caspar, I want you to tell us a bit about your journey and how did you grow this network, which is so huge?
Thank you. I started making YouTube videos when I was 16. I grew up in Neisner, which is a tiny town in South Africa. For some reason, I thought YouTube was an exciting place to put content out. I don't know why. There were a few YouTubers I was obsessed with. There wasn't a strategy. There wasn't a plan. There wasn't this is going to be a big business one day. This was in 2010. And the videos were terrible. And I got that feedback very quickly from the audience. And over time, they got a bit better. And after 2 years, I got 1,000 subscribers, which I was very proud of. And then the next year, I got to like 100,000. And then the year after that, to 1 million. And then eventually got to 7 million subscribers. And this was within like 10 years. And along that journey, I thought, I love this YouTube thing. It's fun. I love growing an audience and stuff. But I really love the entrepreneurial kind of part of being a creator. And so I was able to start a company with a guy called Ben Jeffries, which is called Influencer. You can find us on influencer.com. And we've been working with brands and creators for 10 years now. We see ourselves as part of the originators of influencer marketing, which has obviously been spoken about a lot for the last 5 years at Cannes. But before that, it was very difficult to get people to consider this as a opportunity. But I think I just followed a path of going towards a place which I understood very well, which I thought had potential, but I never knew it would get to this. And so, yeah, very, very happy to be here with you all today.
Yeah, and I don't know how old you are, but maybe when you were 16 in 2010. So you're very, very young and a young entrepreneur.
Yeah, so yeah.
I just did the math.
Who wants to work it out? I think it's 31, if I can remember correctly, is the age. So yeah, it's also strange going from when we started the business, being in my early 20s, trying to convince people who they have a lot of experience in life, which made them think they had a lot of experience when it came to our space, and we're trying to convince them on something we actually understood at a young age. And now we're lucky to be in a position where we're not necessarily the youngest. And it's kind of weird how it gets so much easier as soon as you have that age behind you, which is kind of not right, because it doesn't mean that you know everything just because you've been doing it a little bit longer.
So I actually started my first company when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
And I was all of 24, and I started my company, which is into communication and brand strategy, back in India, Crosshairs. So I just feel age has no limits. And you've had a great entrepreneurial journey from being this big YouTuber to companies like Influencer.com and Creative Ventures. So tell us a bit about that journey. Like, was there a moment you said, like, oh my God, what am I really doing? Yeah. Or,
Yeah, I think whenever you start something new, you have to convince other people about it before you've convinced yourself, if that makes sense. And you might go, oh, surely you believe in yourself. Yeah, you believe in yourself, but what you're trying to portray to the world about what you've started is not always exactly where it feels like it is to you when you know all of the dirty secrets of how you might have just lost a client, or you might have struggled to close an investor, or you might have just been completely ignored and ghosted by someone you were really trying to impress. And so it's hard to convince yourself as much as you want to convince others. So yeah, I guess I've learned how to start things from nothing. I guess YouTube was a good way to learn that, because you can literally go and start a channel and you realize, oh my God, I just made a decision, I started a channel, Now I'm going to upload a video. Okay, I made a decision. I did that. And in the beginning, no one cares, but you can see how over time, if you keep doing it, you can build something. And Creative Ventures, which you mentioned, is a venture fund. We now manage $65 million for mostly institutions in the US who want access to early stage seed investments. We've invested in companies from Beehive, which is like a newsletter platform, which is doing really well at the moment, to 11 Labs, which is a voice AI business, which is just raised at 3-point-something billion. So it's incredible to see. But those people literally 3 or 4 years ago were trying to convince the world about something. And maybe they thought it was going to work. Maybe they just hoped it was going to work. But they managed to take it from 0 to 1. And I love that. And that's why I think the journey, even though it's all very hard to understand the connections maybe between some of the things I do, it's also kind of, they all have very similar patterns, which is like collaboration between teams, just starting something.
And I think you keep learning along the way.
Exactly. And then they also revolve around social, because all of these founders are launching businesses, and the number one go-to-market for a consumer business is social. So it's awesome.
And, so what excites you most about the AI content creation part of it? And what should creators really watch out for? Especially, like influencer marketing is a big field now coming up in India. So I want you to throw some light, like what sort of tips can you give the creators? What is it that they should look for when they're getting into the whole creator business?
Yeah, so when it comes to AI and influencer marketing, every time I walk past a talk at Cannes, I hear the word AI, and I'm like, oh, that's a hot take. That's cool. I think in the marketing industry, we like to act like we're all experts before maybe we've done enough work. I've definitely fallen in love with the subject, and it's interesting to see everyone scrambling to try and do something very quickly. And while that's important, I think ultimately it's going to just start to happen, just like everyone started to pick up a phone and everyone started to use the internet. And it's going to be, and the thing about AI is going to be so easy to use that you don't have to be super innovative. But I think right now there's an opportunity to get there before others. And you do have to build a culture within your organization where people are playing with it, they are open to it, and like they try it first maybe before they try something else, just to see if this thing that they're struggling with, or maybe they, for example, is a very simple thing, but a knowledge management system within an organization allows you to, rather than asking someone or waiting for a response, to see like, where's this file? Where's this? Like, can you just search? So those kinds of things they're tiny and simple, but they're actually way bigger than the complex things I'm hearing all over the place, because they're very time saving. When it comes to the creator part of it, I think that just like how we're never going to want to watch kind of AI-generated athletes playing football, I don't think we're going to want to watch en masse AI-generated creators, but it's very nuanced, because you will enjoy content when it's just redistributing information or like sharing something with you that you find on TikTok homepage. That's fine if that's AI. Like, it's good enough, because you just want to, maybe you want to learn about something that's going on in the world and it's telling you, and that information is great. But when you want to like follow something because you care about it and you like care about their opinion and you care, maybe there'll be a couple who are like, they're representing themselves with AI, but you want to know that there's a story behind it, I think, for the real interest to be there. So our part of the market, which is like human-orientated opinions and people who are experts and you're interested in them for being people, that's going to get stronger, but it's going to compete with a lot of UGC AI-generated content where you don't care as much about the person who you're seeing the content from, you just want to know the information, or you find it funny.
But I did notice that in India, like one of the media houses, and they have this huge summit, they launched an AI-generated anchor, and it could sing, and, and it was so real. So what do you think of some of these big markets, especially India, because we are from India, and it's ours is the largest population, and everybody's on social media.
Yeah.
Because data is really cheap. I don't know. So what do your numbers say?
Yeah.
What is it that what are you seeing as a trend? My
So-
question
so-
is that.
Exactly. I see that as an example of what you're talking about. Is someone's put in time and effort to create IP. So they've, just like Disney has created characters that we all love and engage with, people will create characters maybe using AI tools that we all love and create. And there'll be a space for that, and that will continue. Just like some people, yeah, they follow like Wallace and Gromit. Like that's great. That could now be created by AI. But in terms of like the long tail of it all gets replaced, every person you care about is now going to just be digital. I don't completely buy that. So yeah, I think it's a fun one because you can't make one statement here and be like, this is how it's going to work everywhere. There's also going to be different markets where it works even more. I think I don't know if anyone saw 50 Cent was at Snapchat.
Yes.
And I went on his Instagram profile and it looks like he's AI generating himself in loads of different places. I don't know if anyone's noticed this.
I don't know.
But it's
I'm
like
gonna look up
perfect
now.
quality photos of 50 Cent, and I'm pretty sure it's AI. You can't. Maybe he's just doing great photos, but he's putting himself in really interesting situations. And the way he's using it is, if something's going on in the world, like I think Donald Trump and Elon Musk, obviously they had that massive blowout. So 50 Cent put a picture of himself and Elon Musk, and then he made a long comment about why he thinks Elon should make up with Trump. Whatever.
Yeah.
And he's using it in a smart way. He's still a real person. People are following it because it's 50 Cent. But he, rather than having to get a real photo, he's just like, this is the image. You guys, I'm going to suck you into the content with this image, but now this is my opinion. And that's interesting. But if that opinion was also AI, and the image was AI, it still could maybe pop up on TikTok and you could just scroll through, but that's not going to create the long connection. And I think it sounds like they put effort into that and created a connection through the IP. But when it comes to when Meta talks about replacing, all advertising with AI, I think it will be a big chunk of that UGC advertising, for sure. But when it comes to the human connection, which is getting bigger because of social media, I think that's hard to replicate.
Yeah, I mean that
I don't know
sounds.
if that explains itself.
But it does, and I'm seeing a lot of AI-generated content on social media,
Yeah.
especially in politics. I
Yeah.
think that's really working very well.
You can flood the zone for sure with a lot of content, and I guess the good thing about some social networks is while you could put 1 billion pieces of content out, they're not going to all get seen by everyone unless they're really good and interesting. And I guess the more scary element of this is when that content is controversial and like it's pulling at emotional heart, and that's the stuff that rises rather than it being good. So that's something we have to think about.
And when did you first realize that influence, like being an influencer, influence, can drive real social impact?
I mean, I don't know if there was like this one day where I realized it was a weird growing up as a creator in a world that didn't think creators were very cool. Because when in 2012, like I would tell people I'd go out for a drink and I'd say like I was a YouTuber when they asked me what I did for a living, and they'd say, oh, that's great, but what do you do for a living? That sounds like a great hobby. And so it was like a very slow evolution for me. Whereas now today, if you become a big YouTuber, I think everyone knows that's your job. And in terms of when did I realize there's real world impact? I mean, I was able to release a film with my best friend Joe Sugg, who's also a creator, and we did we did a premiere in Leicester Square, and we completely filled up the whole entire place, and we sold out. It was like the #1 selling DVD, and while we're very proud of the DVD and the content, I don't think it was purely because of the content. I think it was because we created this audience that we could engage in not only on social media but beyond, and that's obviously what brands have understood for the last kind of 7 years now.
And if you were to return to YouTube today, what kind of content would you create and why?
So yeah, if I was gonna, I mean, it's tough one. I'm so busy at the moment running between all of my various things, and that's why I've taken to do YouTube. You've got to concentrate. You can't just be an afterthought, I think, to do it well these days. I think other social networks like TikTok and Instagram, what's great about them is you can just share what you're doing in your real world, and the content can perform really well. Whereas YouTube, you have to kind of focus. To answer the question, I think it would still have to somehow be comedic. I think it would still have to be, even though this has been maybe a more serious talk, lighthearted. Because that's someone I love is Richard Branson in terms of like what he became as an entrepreneur. He did very well in business, but he always took himself with a pinch of salt. And if I was ever going to put content out about being an entrepreneur one day, I think it wouldn't be, work from 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. and then get in a sauna. It would be more just like, these are some fun ways you can get your life to work well for you if you work hard and have a bit of fun and meet the right people. This can work, and you can get lucky along the way. That's the kind of stuff I think we need to put out there as well, so people understand like a lot of that information around entrepreneurial influencer stuff is a little bit bullshit.
Yeah. But I did meet Richard Branson last year in New York during climate.
Yeah, it's an incredible example of a person who you wouldn't expect. But he's been able to build teams around him who can help execute things that are super important. I mean, flying a plane or having an airline is a very serious matter, and someone like Richard Branson is so playful to be behind that brand is genius.
Yes, and so India had its own history of the airline business, where Mr. Ratan Tata, he's no more, but he took over this other big airline, which was by the government, Air India, and merged it, and so I understand how difficult it is. And
wasn't there also like a beer brand in India that started an airline?
But Kingfisher. But that's no more.
Yeah.
I mean, the brand's no more, and I can hear Gurmeet.
I watched a Netflix documentary about that.
Yeah,
so
Gurmeet is from India, and she covers Soul of Hospitality. It's a media house.
Okay.
And, so she's like... and what does reinvention mean to you now? And what's the next bold step you're planning? Because I know my team is saying, my God, Caspar's so young. And I'm like, yeah, he is young,
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever had whenever I've had a really big idea in life, and I usually get them when I'm on a run, and then I'm like, oh, that's going to be amazing. And then I tell a few people, and I realize it just sounds amazing in my head. And it's usually a process of not necessarily doing something brand new, but doing something that people already want, but doing it better than other people. I think that's how I'm going to do it, because it's really hard to build a business with just a new idea that doesn't really have a market, and you think it's a cool idea. It's still really hard to build a business which you have a lot of competitors in, but I think with the power of social and the power of understanding this space, you can do for example, I've got a student accommodation business in South Africa, and it's not a social media business whatsoever, but we've managed to become the best student accommodation in Cape Town. We now have 500 rooms, fastest growing. People love it because of social media, and so it's taking that angle and a bit of common sense and being trying a little bit harder than other people and building a good team, you can do great work.
I'm just going to let you on, and I don't know if some of the people in the audience must have heard this story. So I actually run a communication business, but somewhere it was imbibed in me to pay it forward. It was in the pandemic, first week of lockdown. A client of mine came to me and he said, let's do webinar, but I can't pay you. I said, I'll only do it if you have women change makers. It was just a community. For 3 years, we kept doing all these online discussions. Last year, we started doing panel discussions on other people's event. This year, and then we formed it into a non-for-profit last year. And this year, we're doing our own day-long event. But to get my speakers for Davos and New York, as well as Cannes last year, it was all social media. Mm-hmm. It was all LinkedIn. It was all social media. And some of you I've connected over LinkedIn, and that's how I've sort of built. So I mean, there is that power. I mean, how you use it,
there's very innovative ways to use it.
It's very important. So the entire network, the entire WIN network is built on social media.
And it can be as simple. I mean, I'm on the jury here, and one of the most innovative uses of social media was also the most simple, which is IKEA DMing 3 million people somehow. I'm trying to work out exactly how they did it because it's genius. And they just sent a message saying, "You up?" ? which in England and the US, or it's actually a Canadian thing. It kind of means like, it's like a booty call. But it's comedic. Coming from IKEA, you see a message saying, you up. That's it. They don't send anything else. And then if you reply, they then say, oh, great, you're up. We have this mattress that I'm giving you 20% off. And it's like, that's just smart. Rather than sending, you know, some people send LinkedIn messages to 1,000 people, and the first message they send is like an essay that's clearly written by AI. But IKEA just said, you up. And it wasn't Y-O-U, you know, O-U. It was just you up, all lowercase, question mark. Good copywriting. Real. Human. And like that's just the reason I brought that up is like with the creative ventures, with our fund, we do a lot of investing in amazing companies, and a lot of them are in our network. We get introductions in real life, but sometimes we just need to get hold of someone. And if you really try, you can get hold of pretty much anyone on social media.
Yeah, so true. And my last question, from a creator to entrepreneur, what key moments have shaped your journey? What's the biggest lesson you've learned about building lasting influence?
So I took a key moment, the first question, and then I'll probably forget the second part, so you can remind me. But the first one, I think, is I got quite nervous when I was turning from a YouTuber to entrepreneur, because I was in these rooms, I didn't really understand all the words, and I was maybe asked to talk, and I was scared I was going to be caught out. And then I got quite anxious every time. But my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, like every time I went home reminded me, because she doesn't care about any of that stuff. And I'm like taking it so seriously, and I'm like, I just met this person, I'm just talking to this person. And she's just like, oh, why don't you bring me flowers? Or why, you know, like, I've been just like doing this today. And it's just like, just having people in your life that, like, for me, it's been just remind you how, while we're in this, you know, there's some really important things happening at Cannes. This is one of those very important ones, guys. I'm happy you're here. But, you know, some people on stage probably taking it very seriously. These things don't matter compared to the bigger picture in the world right now, especially right now. And so just having that perspective, I think, for me, took the pressure away a little bit. Like, even though I think this stuff is important, it is to me, it can affect things, and to other people. But there's so much bigger stuff out there, and a lot of people just don't care. I love that. And then the other part of the question I have forgotten.
Yeah. So what's the biggest lesson you've learned about building lasting influence?
Yeah. I mean, with that, I mean, I don't, you know, I just keep going. I don't think I can say I have the secret to building lasting, you know, influence. And like, to be honest, for me, that's why I launched all these other things, because I didn't want to have to rely on that. I think influence is, you know, it's cool if you make cool content and people follow you because they like your content, that's great. But if my goal was to have influence, I think it would be quite a tough thing to wake up to every day and be like, how can I influence? So it's more just making cool stuff. Building now the fact that I did have that influence, like, you know, using that as a launch pad to do things that could be bigger than myself, and then if people continue to tune in, that's great.
Yeah. And any one last line message to inspire the young professionals? One line.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just my favorite saying is just, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I just turn up to everything. If someone invites me to something, I just do it, and. Because you never know when you're going to meet someone or something's going to happen. Oh my God, I totally believe that. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us on the Win Lounge. This is our inaugural lounge at Cannes. That's great. I love it. And hopefully we are manifesting. We'll have a bigger space next year. 100%. Thank you so much for joining. Cheers.